I was like, wow, she's amazing. I'm going to put her on my dream list because I don't know how I'm going to get a hold of her one day, but she's going to be on my dream list. Okay, I am so happy that I finally got you on here. So when I started putting together this podcast, I have to give you like a little like backstory, okay? So I started meeting these amazing women while being in the NFL, and I came up with this idea, this show, this concept about interviewing women married to high-profile athletes, but all women that had these successful stories, these storylines that would inspire other women. And so I'm doing all this research online. And I remember this one day I'm doing research. I'm like, okay, I don't care what sport they're in, but I'm like, okay, professional athletes with super accomplished lives. And you popped up and I was like, oh, okay. I love baseball. Okay. So you were one of the first people I found when I clicked on that. And so I started reading about you and I was like, wow, she's amazing. I'm going to put her on my dream list because I don't know how I'm going to get a hold of her one day, but she's going to be on my dream list. I really want her on there. And I put that aside and it's been a couple years now. So for me, this is super surreal because you're on here today and now I get to hear your story. So
that's so sweet. Thank you. I'm excited to be here too.
Well, it's really fun. Okay. So you're my first MLB wife, my first Major League Baseball. I've had my NFL girls. I've been in the NFL, but my story is I'm from a baseball family. My dad was a baseball coach. He was catcher at LSU. My brother played. I actually got into sports broadcasting and I did play-by-play for Texas Collegiate Baseball. I did color commentary and was the mistress of ceremony for the Wood and Bad League. So I love baseball. So for me, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of like fangirl over here because I'm a huge baseball fan, even though my husband plays. I feel like I'm super spoiled by having you be my first MLB wife on here.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. This will be fun.
It'll be so fun. So before I get into all your accolades, because you have an amazing story, kind of want people, the viewers that have come on and listened, they know what it's like to be an NFL wife. Mm-hmm. But being an NFL wife and an MLB wife are completely different. My husband plays 6 months out of the year. All right. They only have 17 games, whereas you have 162 games, 184. You have a lot of games. Yeah. So your life and my life are completely different, even though both of our husbands are professional athletes. So can you kind of walk through to me, what is it like during a baseball season? Like, when does it start? How does it end? We're just coming to the end. The World Series just ended, but like, it's been a long time now. So walk me through it.
Yeah. So our off season goes by kind of in the blink of an eye. However, we do get all the big holidays at home, which is great. So we have Thanksgiving and Christmas at home. And then Clayton always leaves around Valentine's Day for spring training. Their off season is like 3 months long about between the World Series and when they have to report back. By God's grace, all 4 of our children were born within those 3 months. So I mean, not only do we have all the holidays, but we also have all of our children's birthday and our anniversary in these 3 months. We go to spring training in Phoenix, Arizona. And this is our most favorite time of year because the guys, it's kind of like they have a normal 9-to-5 job. He goes to the field first thing in the morning, but then he's home by dinner time every night. So in the past, when our kids were little bitties, we would go to spring training for the whole 6 weeks. It was kind of like a baseball reunion where there's 15 teams all based in Phoenix, Arizona. And so it's a big reunion of like getting to see all these friends that you've played with. Yeah. Phoenix is beautiful that time of year. We kind of have this normal family lifestyle of like, Dad's gone 9 to 5. We're going to go to the pool. We're going to hike. We're going to play around. And then he's home for dinner time and bedtime. And it's kind of this dream. April 1st is usually opening day. And then it is a 6-month kind of a sprint. They have a game every single day. And people that don't know baseball well don't know that they have an off day probably every 2 weeks, but those days are used for travel. So it's usually when they are having to fly to like the East Coast or back to the West Coast. They use those off days for that.
And they leave early in the morning on game days, right? It's not like, hey, I'm going to be there an hour before game time. It's like they got to go in.
Yeah. No, you're right. They have to be there by like noon on the day of the game. So the amount of off days that we actually have at home, like in LA during the season, probably 3 or 4. And usually, and we're prone to this too, but people have charity events on those nights. So there's so few of them that we usually host our big Ping Pong for Purpose charity event one of those nights. And then the Dodgers have a gala one of those nights. So truly there are no off days in baseball. And then you feed right into playoffs of October. And that is just a whirlwind. And we're just coming off still the high of the World Series and how much fun that is. But I mean, really, when Clayton leaves, it's about 8 or 9 months that he's gone.
Okay, you've got 4 kids. So what's it like for you? I'm sure it's evolved over time as your kids have gotten older, but you go to all these away games? Do you go live in LA? Do you live in Dallas? What do you do?
Yeah, so now that our kids are older and they're all in school, they actually go to school right across the street. I'm looking at them at recess right now.
That's awesome.
We are based here in Dallas. This is where they go to school. So once they started, my older 2, once they got into elementary school, we kind of made Dallas our home base. However, the school is great working with us. And so we actually go to LA usually every other week. So we try not to miss a homestand in LA. So we're crushing the airline miles right now, going back and forth. And it really, for us, that family time is top priority. Like nothing, no school, no extracurricular activities, no birthday parties, nothing is going to trump that time with dad. Right. And kind of our kids now know that that's like the baseline expectation is we have kind of a 7-day threshold of like how long we can go without seeing him. Now, Clayton's also amazing. Whenever the team is traveling from East Coast to West Coast on that off day, Clayton will get a red-eye flight the night before after the game. He will stop here for literally to walk our kids to school. He'll take them lunch at school. He'll pick them up from school, and then he will fly out the next morning to whatever East Coast city he's going to. So we get creative, but we have to make it work. During the summer, we are in LA full time. We travel to every road game with him. We see so many incredible cities. We get to be tourists, and it's really fun. But when my kids were little bitty and we had just toddlers and they were in preschool, we were there 9 months out of the year with him. We never left his side. It just gets a little bit more complicated, as you know, when they get older.
Yeah, I mean, like, so it's a really hard, it's got to be a family decision and it takes a lot of thought. But like, now that my kids are older and in sports, I'm here 6 months by myself. I Knicks in Tennessee.
Right.
And we've lived all over. I mean, 3 of my kids were born in Jersey. 1 of my kids was born in Florida. We've lived in LA. We've lived in Dallas. And that was great. I would not trade that for anything. And my kids can say they've lived here and there and experienced different things. And it's not many kids can do that. However, my family was here, and baseball and the NFL are a little bit different. Our contracts in the NFL, nothing's really guaranteed. They could cut you tomorrow for no rhyme or reason, and then you're done. And so for me, it is so hard. And I'm sure you know, like picking up and going and finding a school and then getting into a school. And so for us, with all these 1-year deals, it just didn't make sense. So it's hard. So I'm somewhat envious that you're able to pick up and go, because it is such a short window when you can do this. And I want my kids to be able to remember those experiences, because I mean, not everyone gets to experience that, but correct me if I'm wrong. Baseball is a little bit different. If I go to an away game, I can maybe stay in the same hotel. I can't travel. I can't stay with him the night of the game. I can't stay with him the night before the game. But baseball, and I guess
it's different. It's actually very family friendly. And I think it depends on what organization you're with, but the Dodgers are well known for being very family friendly. So we can actually fly on the team plane the last leg back to LA. We can stay in the hotel room with them all the time. And not only that, they do like family brunches every morning, and they set up like really great family excursions for us once the guys go to the field. And so it actually is very, very family friendly, but I think it also has to be, again, because of so many games. And there's so many days we couldn't possibly spend that much time or expect the guys to be away from their family that much.
Well, and I'm sure the guys do better when they have their family there and that support system.
I think so.
2 months without seeing anybody, it's not going to benefit anybody.
Right, exactly. No, I really like to think that the performance, it correlates with how family friendly the organization is. And if you're really catering, because these guys, they worry about their wives and their kids, and are they safe in New York while we're playing there if they're staying at a different hotel? So for them, I think it also goes hand in hand with the success of the team is how family oriented the organization is.
And you guys have been lucky. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so Clayton's been in the league a long time. We're the same age, all right? So he's been in the league a long time. He got drafted by the Dodgers, right?
Yes. So I don't know of many other players that have done their whole career with with the same organization. That's also super rare in baseball. Is a lot of times it does just come down to like year-to-year contracts. And we've had friends who have, now done the entire like MLB circuit of every different team from like West, Central, and East, National League and American League. So Clayton got drafted right out of high school by the Dodgers. We were dating at this point. And then a year and a half later, he was up in the majors and he's been there ever since. So it was 2008 that he debuted. And so we've been there since then. We were dating for the first couple of years and then we've been married for coming up on 14 years. So.
Wow. And so you went to A&M. Y'all were high school sweethearts from Dallas.
Yes.
So, and a year and a half to make it to the majors, being in the front, that's not a long time, especially to the Dodgers. That's impressive.
Right. I don't think we realized that at the time. Again, like we were just kind of on this wild roller coaster and we were so young at that point. I don't think we really had our wits about us at all, but I was at A&M and super involved in my sorority. That's when I started going to Africa and building my passion for that over there while he was chasing this baseball dream. And so it was just funny. He could never come to any of my sorority parties or anything. And then he'd show up for the off season and he was so humble and kind of awkward and didn't know what to tell people that he did. And so everyone, when he'd show up to these date parties, would always ask him, what do you do? Where do you go to school? And he would just reply with, oh, I don't go to school, period. And I was like, well, you just give them something. Just a little bit more detail so that it doesn't seem like I'm dating this high school or engaged. Yeah, exactly. But no, it was a quick ride up to the major leagues and the Dodgers organization. I mean, it's like family to us now. It's just they're great. Yeah,
it's gonna okay. And I really I want to get through all this baseball stuff because I really want to talk about you and what you've done because it's amazing accomplishment. So I'm just going through these things because I feel like I need to set the stage because you guys are both super accomplished in many ways. And the point of the show is to show how humble you are, how accomplished you are, because you are all of those things. But I want people to get to know you too, because this is my first time really meeting you, but I've had friends. I'm from Dallas as well. And so when I was pitching the show and I was telling people I've got Ellen coming on, I swear there was probably 10 people I met that are good friends that are, oh, I know her. I grew up with her sister down the street. I went to school and everyone gushed about you for like 15 minutes. And so I was like, okay, well now I want to get to know her a little bit more for myself. And so, okay, you're from Dallas. Yes. Y'all met in Dallas. You went to A&M. He played. He's been with the Dodgers. And then you said while he was playing, you had this passion for doing philanthropy or humanitarian work. All right. So how did this come about?
Okay, so I was in high school. Clayton and I solely started going out in high school because our best friends were going out. So that was like the extent to which we knew each other at that point. My mom met Clayton our freshman year of high school and instantly fell in love with him and adopted him into our family. So like before the decision was even made on my end, my mom had like a Christmas stocking for him that first year that we were dating. So he was already in. But I was in high school. And I was watching this special on TV and it was about this woman walking through the streets of Africa. And it was kind of during that time of life where you can be very self-consumed with like your social plans and you are an awkward teenager and you care about what you're going to do that Friday night. And it was like this like safety bubble of mine that I'd been living in had been popped. And I could not believe that there were kids that lived half a world away that lived completely differently than I did. I had never seen or known that type of poverty before. So it was literally like the Lord just like lit a fire in my heart that day. And it continued to grow and cultivate. But I always had this anxiety in my heart of like, well, what good could I do? Like there are people that commit their entire life to trying to serve and to beat the poverty over in Africa. And it's so overwhelming. And I'm like 16 years old. Like what good could I do? So I just wrestled with it and I talked about it a lot. And Clayton knew from the very beginning of us dating that this was super important to me and a passion, but a passion I honestly didn't know what to do with or where the Lord would send me. And it was my freshman year of high school. And I think that I needed to take that little leap of faith of like being on my own. Clayton was pursuing his dream of baseball. And when you see that there is someone that is living in exactly what the Lord has called them to do. And I was watching that play out with Clayton, and he was literally chasing this dream of playing baseball. And it again was that like little push and nudge that I needed of like, oh, see what this is all about. Like there's going to be this anxiety of not going that is more overwhelming than any fear that you have about stepping on Zambian soil. So I went, and it completely changed my life. And it was the first time I got over there, and I'm walking through the streets, and as you're walking through, you look different from everybody. And these kids, the depth of poverty kind of starts like spilling out into the streets around me. And so these little kids are running up and holding my hand. And I just bent down, and it is such a core memory moment for me of hugging my first Zambian orphan. And it just kind of clicked that it's like, okay, it's about this one child. It's not about the blanket of poverty that has felt so overwhelming. If there's one thing I could do for this one child in this one moment, then this is it. This is exactly why the Lord has called me to be here. And so it has grown so much since then. I continued to spend every summer of college over there. And then it was right after Clayton and I got married, after I graduated college. And I said, I need you to come, because while we are jumping into marriage together and I'm about to jump into your world of baseball, and that's going to be my new lifestyle, I need you to understand and see my heartbeat that I've left over in Africa. So he came and joined me, and it has it's blossomed and it's grown from there in ways I never could have imagined.
I think you're really lucky, because I think we are all searching for a sense of purpose. Mm-hmm. And I think as you get older, that purpose may change, but I think everyone is called to do something. And for me, it's evolved over the years. And I think you're very right. Before kids, my priorities were this and superficial things. And I went to church. I was a good person. But yes, you're almost more just consumed in yourself. And then totally. And my eyes opened, because it wasn't just about me anymore. And then problems that you thought were these massive problems before are nothing when your child is sick. And then you really have to rely on God and him guiding you. And so I was always big in my faith, but having kids, it really just put things into perspective for me. Right. And like you, I think I like what you said, saying, sometimes it's just taking a leap of faith, because I'm big on helping. I love military families, and I love like foster kids. I want every kid to have the same opportunity as my kid. I always compare everyone to my own children, because I give my kids 100%. But sometimes I get in my head and I'm thinking, well, what can I do? Like this seems so minor in the scheme of things, but that's when I have to stop myself and just kind of like you just had to take that leap of faith and go. And even if it was one person that you could help, you just probably changed their entire life. And so I think that'll be a good reminder for me sometimes when I'm thinking, well, what is this one act going to do? When in reality, we don't know. It could change someone's life forever. And so you're saying that you got that first feeling when you were in high school, you were 16 years old?
I did. It was super early. And that's the thing I kind of want to have resonated with my kids now, is I look back and I kind of see, not that there were years wasted of like my adolescence, where I at that point was like, okay, I don't have a paycheck, I don't have money, I don't have the wherewithal to be able to do much here, so I'm going to kind of let that be on my parents. And what I really want to like preach to my kids and to teenagers is like, no, you've been given something that you can do right here and right now. And it might not be like a monetary contribution. It might not be that you're a major league pitcher with a huge platform to be able to talk. It might be that your little sphere of influence, your little circle of friends might be exactly where the Lord has planted you, and you have got such an influence and an impact there. Or until like, for a lot of the rookies and guys in baseball, like, okay, until I get my first big league paycheck, then I'll start giving back, until I kind of make it to this point, then I'll start doing something. And if we keep kicking the can down the road, we're going to look up and be like, darn, like, I feel like I kind of missed so much that I could have been doing. So yes, it was put on my heart at an early age, but I am the classic example of someone that said, not me. Like, surely it can't be me that does something big here. And so I just wrestled with that for years until finally I was like, I got to do it.
Well, but you didn't do something small. You've done actually something really big now. So you started the Kershaw Challenge, correct?
Yes.
I know it took baby steps to get there, but it's actually a really big deal now, and it's helping so many people. So can you kind of tell me what exactly?
I mean, it is such, again, like this culmination of whenever I looked at what my passion was in life and what Clayton's passion was in life, they could not have been more different. And I really wrestled with like, okay, I'm about to marry my best friend, this guy I've known for forever, yet I have left so much of my heart in Africa. He's playing baseball in LA. Where in the world are these two things going to collide? And so it was on our flight home from Africa. Clayton had gone over there with me, and he met this girl named Hope, who I had fallen in love with. She's a double orphan, HIV positive, had a terrible wounded leg. And we had been putting her in a foster care home just to kind of try to put a Band-Aid on a bigger problem that we needed to fix. And so it was on our way home from that trip, and after seeing Hope, that we came up with Kershaw's Challenge on the plane ride back to America. And it was basically, we're going to use Clayton's platform and his passion and his skill and talent for playing baseball and make it about something so much bigger than just the game. And we're going to build, every time he strikes out, he's going to donate money, and that's going to be his challenge. He's going to donate money to build a home for Hope and kids just like her. And what we're going to hopefully do is challenge other people to come alongside of us and use whatever their talent or ability or passion is and start using that to give back. And so in the beginning, we were getting these stories coming in of like old men playing domino games and donating money for every game they won to Kershaw's Challenge. And we had a guy that was running 1,000 miles a year and donating money for every mile he ran. And so it was really cool to kind of see this start to take momentum. We ended up
baseball in every walk of life.
In every walk of life. And we realized like, gosh, the platform is so amazing in baseball. And Clayton would laugh saying, I feel like after my games, the interviews, I would end up talking more about Kershaw's Challenge. People were more interested in that narrative and that story than asking me about like my pitching mechanics of that. How there was this like beautiful intersection of it called Kershaw's Challenge. And so we partnered with an organization in Zambia. We built this orphanage where 12 kids moved in, and it is like their permanent home. It is not a pass-through. It is not a temporary place. It has a family with a mom and dad, and it is where Hope moved into and was there until she graduated from high school. So since then, and to wrap up a very long story.
No, I'm fascinated. I talk a lot, and I'm like, okay, keep going. I want to hear more.
Kershaw's Challenge, we have picked a different project, capital campaign every single year to do in Zambia. So we've now done 2 orphanages, a huge community school, a library. Every single year we kind of just pick a new like infrastructure to build over there. But Kershaw's Challenge has grown so much that we decided we wanted to start taking on projects that were here in Dallas, Texas, where our home is, in Los Angeles, where we spend majority of our year. And then we've added the Dominican Republic because that is such a hub for baseball. When you are there, baseball is everything. And so for a long time, we partnered with International Justice Mission, rescuing kids out of sex trafficking and slavery over there. And so we partner with these organizations every year. We always encourage people, use whatever you've been given wherever you are in life and start using it to give back, and just wait and see the incredible work that can happen when you're just obedient to that. So that's what Kershaw's Challenge is. It's been a beautiful culmination of both of our passions, which has been awesome.
I think that's amazing, especially, as an athlete who has a platform. You can either use it for personal gain or you can use it to help other people. And I just love, that's a really inspiring story, not just for like women who may be listening to this, but like a story I have 3 boys and 1 girl, and they're all athletes. And it's really hard to find athletes out there who are strong in their faith and who are out there very vocalizing, giving back to others. And so those are the type of people, those are the type of players. Like, I'm like, look, he works hard. He's doing something amazing. He's following his dreams, but he's also got the best intentions, and you can do it all.
Yeah.
So he's okay. And you guys have raised over $23 million at this point.
Yes,
Right?
I know it's right. And it's just
Crazy.
honestly, it is so incredible. And if you had told me this 10 years ago, there's no shot I would have believed it. But again, it's just kind of been one of those like, yes. And like the doors keep opening and we're able to step through, and we've got amazing sponsors and donors that have come alongside of us that just honestly, their trust in us of saying like, we believe in what you guys are doing and that our money is going to the right spot. One thing that Clayton and I were super passionate about from the beginning of this is that every donor dollar goes straight out to these beneficiaries and these charities. And a lot of times when you give a dollar, it's like 50 cents of that dollar actually goes to the charities. And then 50 cents maybe goes to the operating costs. And so that's just a blessing that Clayton and I have been able to do, is like, we will cover the operating costs for this charity so that we are able to tell our donors 100% of your donations go to these kids. It go to the boots on the ground and like changing lives. I think a lot of times people just don't know where to start and where to give and who to trust. And is this actually going to where they say it's going,
100%. Well, like I've got bags of clothes I want to give to someone right now for the holidays, but I'm like, I don't want to go drop them off because I don't know, is it going to stay in this little dump truck over here, or is it going to actually go to a little girl who needs a warm coat? So yes,
you want to know
the back. No. Yeah. Okay. So you have this, which sounds like a full-time job, but also, we have mutual friends and they were raving about you, and they gave me this list of credentials. Like, you are, correct me if I'm wrong, you are the PTA vice president, you are the Girl Scout troop leader, you've got 4 kids. I remember meeting you and you're like doing this, you're doing that, you're running to the school, it's someone's birthday, you're bringing snacks, you're hosting a party. How do you do it all? How do you do it all and have a husband who's gone and playing 160 plus games a year? I mean, are you Superwoman?
No.
And that's the way that we all can like have.
No, I mean, I think from the outside, like, yes, everybody can look like they have it all together. And I'm sure that like, if anybody were to look at any of our Instagram pages, like, yes, it always can look like we're in life right now, And I will say, we are a hot mess over here. Like, clothes are dirty, things are in the laundry room. Like, this is not a picture perfect place at all. This is a come as you are. Know that there will be crap all over the house, but come as you are, and I will always have a pantry full of snacks. And that to me is, we joke that this house is like the community center of the neighborhood because we truly love to have, it is an open door policy. And because we live right across the street from our elementary school, I will put out like a Gatorade tub of lemonade and then a Costco size like table of snacks after school. And we'll have about 50 kids over here every day. And they just are playing in the front yard. We've got footballs and soccer balls and basketballs, and that's it. And it is just, to me, it is. I look around and I'm like, I think it is a glimpse of heaven. Like, I think this is exactly what childhood should be. 100. And this is where I want to put all my time and resources, is into having a safe place for kids to go after school. And it's not on like technology or video games. Like,
allowing them to be kids.
It's allowing them to be
like the old days, like when we were out there until it was dark outside and they're like, come inside, it's time for dinner time. Like, that doesn't days.
I know. And that's what I just want to recreate. And so it really is like coming up in the next 20 minutes when they all get out of school, I'm like, we will have a front yard full of kids, and I love it. And so, yes, like I want to be invested in where my kids are. And if that's PTA and Girl Scouts and leading a Bible study for them, that's where you'll find me for as long as because it does, this as a mom, it goes by so fast. Like, soon they're not going to be doing Girl Scouts or wanting me to, lead them in X, Y, and Z. And so I'm just going to do it while I still can.
Oh, I know. So I'm really lucky. So my boys are in 6th grade. They're twins. They're still super affectionate. But I also think you've got 4 kids. I've got 4 kids. I think the more kids you have, the more parents are like, hey, can you watch my kids? Hey, can the kids come over to your house? And so on any given day, I probably have 6, 7, 8 kids. And that's the norm. And I'm good with that. When we found our house, I said, I don't care how big the house is. I've got to have a big backyard. I've got to be able to have a space that I could have kids go play outside. So literally people come over and I've got probably 20 kids in the backyard. There's balls going in the creek. There's kids jumping in the pool. There's kids playing. they're eating at a house and home. I swear all of our money goes to groceries. I cannot keep my pantry full because it's literally, hey, so-and-so is coming over. Can I have 3 snacks? Sure, go for it. Okay. Yep.
Yes.
I had a full thing today, but I think when we found this house and we had this was my vision as well. Like the more the merrier. This is a safe, happy space.
Yes.
And if you're all here, I know what's going on. So I don't have to worry what you're doing, who you're around, what's going on.
Totally. And don't you just want to be the hub? You know, like want to be where all the action is, because also being a fly on the wall to their friendships, you're like
100%. The dynamics of each group.
Yeah.
And my kids are very open and so are their friends. So it's really funny right now because they'll come over and my boys are very into sports and soccer, but they're very aware of everyone else and what's going on with the girls. And so they'll come over and they'll be like, so-and-so are together now. And they'll tell me more. What about this person? And they'll tell me. And so I'm like, what about Davis and engage with her? Yeah. They won't tell me anything. So no, but that would not happen if they weren't here. So I am so grateful for that.
Oh, you get it. I know. Totally. That's awesome.
So Ellen, I've got a question for you. You've been in the league a long time and your husband's not the average player. Let's be real. I mean, he's won just about every major award that a baseball player can win. However, I know that to get to that point, there's a lot of ups and downs. It's not just everything is peachy and happy all the time. Injuries happen, struggles happen. So for someone out there that may be new to the MLB or may have, a husband that's changing professions or going through a rough time, what was that like for you over the last 17, 18 years being married to an athlete?
Yeah, it is such a roller coaster. And I think that before I had kids, it was very easy to live and breathe the highs and lows of the sport and this profession, because you're very much, you feel like you're trying to grasp onto something that feels so fluid and you can't hold on to it tight enough before kind of the current changes, whether it is they're being sent up or sent down, or they're injured, or there's a new hot rookie that's coming up that might take their place. And so you're kind of grappling onto this anxiety of not knowing where your place is going to be. And yes, I think it comes with time of just being kind of confident of who we are and who he is as a baseball player, but more importantly as a person. And one thing Clayton and I had to establish early on in all of this, when he was kind of at the top of his game and winning all sorts of things, is look, someday someone is gonna come along and is gonna blow all your records out of the water, because that's just how this sport is. These young guys are coming up that are now throwing 103 miles per hour, and are doing things that feel so ridiculous and unattainable. And so let's make sure that we've got this bigger perspective that when your career is over, that you are leaving behind something that lasts far longer than what any record or stat can be able to hold. And so, yes, that's where Kershaw's challenge came in, but also that's where kind of just his mantra as a leader in the clubhouse and building deep friendships and kind of trying to create a legacy that was more in the clubhouse and in the dugout and off the field really came to fruition. Because otherwise, if you are holding so tightly to those highs and lows and the successes and the failures, it is going to be crippling with anxiety. And we saw that, there was lots of failures in the postseason for Clayton for quite some time. And then injuries started happening. And you just feel like you're in this volatile, out of control position of you see your heart on the line out there and there's very little that you can do. And so prayer came into my life in a very incredible way, that this is what I can do. This is the only thing I can do at this point, is just pray for him while he's out there. But then also just having a bigger perspective of like, this is not my identity. This is not who I am. These are incredible experiences and accomplishments, but I have to take a step away sometimes and make sure that I've got a healthy head on my shoulders when it comes to, the successes and the failures of the sport.
I don't think it matters what sport it is. And we've both been around in the league for a long time. And I go back to the very beginning when I first got into the NFL. Mm-hmm. And I remember every game, if he had a miss, it weared on me for the entire week. I mean, I was so into everything, all the highs and the lows. But as time has gone by and as I've gotten older and I've had kids, I look back now and I was like, back in the day when I was the youngest one on the team, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. But if I look back on it now, I'm the oldest one. I love where I'm at now because I now know that if he misses a kick, it's going to be okay. Our life is going to go on. I'm too busy with my kids right now to really, yes, if he's having a hard time and needs to talk to me, that's what weighs me down is if he's upset. But kicks, records, misses, it doesn't matter. And I just think that just comes with experience. And so I am loving it right now. I am loving being 37, being old in the league where I have so much going on. I can't think back to, oh, he missed that kick. This is a bad week. Whereas in the day, I would dwell on it so much.
Absolutely. Isn't that so nice? Like you feel like you're actually getting to enjoy it in such a different way.
Yes.
And
again,
I
know, like you said, like if he stops tomorrow, we're in a good place. I'm okay.
Right.
Like I've got my kids, they've got their life. We've built a life together. So that would be a wonderful chapter we are closing. And now we get to start this other new chapter. So I just think that weight has been lifted off of my shoulder, but that has taken time. That is not an overnight thing by any means.
Exactly. I could not agree with you more on that. There is a freedom that comes with that for sure.
But there was a year when he was playing that it was like, is there a year that you can go back and be like, man, this was probably one of the toughest years? Was there a time throughout Clayton's career, a year that maybe you were like, oh, wow, I don't know if I can take anymore? Like this, not in your marriage, but like, man, this is a lot on my shoulders right now.
Right. I would actually probably say it was this past season. And it was, he had gotten surgery for the very first time last off season. And so he was coming off of recovering from shoulder surgery and finally had been activated. It was like in July and it had been such a long time coming. And he was a part of this phenomenal team with incredible energy and talent. And so he started pitching and he felt his toe, something in his toe and his foot started hurting. And he came home and he was like, by no means am I going to go on the IL. Like I'm not going on the injured list once we just came from shoulder surgery. And it was so deflating, Jay, because it just was like we had been working so hard to recover from shoulder surgery. And now all of a sudden you just start to see
another setback
give out. And so he tried to kind of numb it for a while and they would, try to treat it the best they could. And he kept pitching through it. And I would be sitting at these games knowing how much pain he was in. And he was trying to downplay it so much so that he could, remain competitively, have an edge to him, but also not want to disappoint people who had been waiting for him to come back for so long. That was really
the pressure he must feel too.
Right. And so I remember the plantar plate in his foot ruptured one game and I was there and I watched him.
Yes. As a runner,
Oh, it's awful. It is awful. And so I watched him go down, like basically it happened and him walk off the field. And I knew that he was done for the season. And that was such a sobering reality because again, you're watching this team that is favored to win the World Series and they're on to something. And Clayton and I kind of had to make a decision in that moment. Are we in or are we out? Because right now we want to maybe quit and go home and hide and just be kind of like grovel in our disappointment.
Sorry for yourself in a way.
Are we going to embrace that we are a part of this team, that we've been on this team for 17 years and we're going to see this through. And if that means that he is sitting on the bench, but he is cheering and he is a part of like the team and the chemistry there, then we're going to do it. And that was a decision that took a lot of prayer and conversation, but I am so thankful that we stuck it out. Because yes, it was hard. Like there were times where I was like, man, I know you want to be pitching in Game 5 of the World Series. That's not what the Lord has planned for you this year. And so he just finished surgery for the second. He got it on his knee and his plantar plate. He's been on crutches for about 5 weeks. His plan is to do full rehab and get back for next season.
We can do it.
And he can. And I know he can. And he wants to. The desire and passion is still there. And when
I think these guys need a sense of purpose too. Like they, when you're in something for so long, sometimes I almost feel like God needs to shake it up a little bit so we appreciate things more, and it gets us another sense of let's go. And so maybe this was God's way of saying, you know what, You've done it all. I know you can do it. I'm just going to spice things up again, give you a new sense of purpose, a new gear, and another opportunity.
And I'll tell you what, if we had ever taken the sport for granted or health for granted, we sure don't anymore. We have this whole new renewed appreciation, and we look at each one of Clayton's starts. I literally relish in it. And I sit there with 2 kids on either side of me, and we just sit there and we soak it in. And I'm like, there are not many people that get to have this sort of deep appreciation and be in the moment like that when they've been doing this for so long. And I think it's exactly kind of what we needed.
Yeah. Or have kids that can actually be old enough to appreciate it too.
Yeah.
And
it's so fun when they do, you know?
You know what? And that story right there, I guarantee you at some point, if you haven't used it already, that will come up in conversation when your kids have some kind of trial or obstacle. You're going to be looking at the story. Well, let me tell you the story about your dad. And we had 2 choices, A and B. We chose A, and this is how it turned out.
And what I had to learn is that whether it is being just like the eternal optimist or just being the level-headed one of like, I have to stay so steady, even keeled. And that probably means me having a support system that's also behind the scenes where like he calls me, I call them, I dump everything, and then I feel better and I can go back to him. You know, you kind of have to have like the train of people that are coming in alongside of you to talk you off the cliff so that you can talk him off the cliff, you know?
You know, we've talked about kind of like some of the harder times we've gone through. You know, I have loved every second of being in the NFL, and I will always remember those moments. But like we said, it's not easy. And over the last few years, we've had some really tough times. But for me, and I don't know about for you, it has been prayer and God that has really got me through that. Because yes, we talk about support systems. I am super close to my mom and my sister, but there's just some days I don't have the right words to tell them what's going on. And so I rely on prayer, and so I've been saying the rosary a lot lately. We've got a lot going on. So for you, do you think it's your faith that has really helped you be that even keel presence in your household throughout the season?
Absolutely. I mean, for Clayton and I, we both grew up in a Christian household. And so our faith is very much the center of our family. It's what we want to impart to our kids. And again, it gives us that bigger perspective of we're exactly where the Lord has us for now. And if tomorrow that changes, we will still be okay. And having a bigger perspective on all of it, because it is so fleeting. You know, both of our husbands' careers have been so much longer than what we could have ever asked for or dreamed of. And so there's a part of me that has more of a kung fu grip on it too, of like, I don't know life apart from this at this point. And so it's a little bit terrifying to think that someday it may not be there. And that's when my trust in the Lord of like, but you have carried us so far and remained so faithful to us through all of this, that even when baseball is no longer here, we will be okay, because that is where our identity is. That is where our security is in him. And so that has just given us such a perspective of going through the highs and lows of baseball, the not knowing if it will be there, it won't be there for forever. And so also being okay with it.
So I'm going to tell you this story. I'm big on stories. I know I like to talk for hours. And so, no, I just remember, you know, for me, prayer is super important. And when I'm trying to talk to my kids about God, and, you know, it's hard at a young age, they hear things and they go through the motion. But for me, I think prayer is what really puts things into perspective. And there was a time, I think this was about 7 years ago, where Nick got injured. And like I told you before, we didn't know if he would play again. And I may have told the story before on here, but it resonates with me. And I go back to it on a daily basis when I'm having a hard time. But I remember just praying and praying and praying. I would drop my kids off at school. They go to a Catholic school, and I would go in every day and I would pray, and then I would leave. And in my prayer, I would say, God, I know everything looks bleak right now. I know we may never have an opportunity in the NFL, but, you know, I have such a strong belief in my husband that the end of his career is not here right now. And so I'm praying to you, Lord. And I remember my exact prayer, and I have to constantly remind Nick of that. I remember saying, Lord, I don't care if Nick ever sets an NFL record. I don't care if he's ever the highest paid athlete out there. I don't care if he gets all these accolades. That is not what I want. All I want, Lord, is for him to have another opportunity to go and to prove to all those people out there how talented he is, because I know how talented he is, and I would love for him not to go out on this note. And I remember saying that prayer for a good 6 months. All right. He gets a phone call. All right. And he gets another opportunity. And so we're 7 years later. He's broken records now and he's done really well. But I remember having to go to Nick sometimes whenever things come up, like he gets frustrated, like this team doesn't want to sign me or I'm not getting this opportunity. And I have to go back and be like, Nick, it's because of me. I'm sorry, it's because of me. In my prayer, I was very specific. I promised God, if he gave you another opportunity, we didn't need to be the highest paid athlete. We didn't need the accolades. We didn't need to break records. So don't blame anyone. Blame me, because he answered all of my prayers to a T right there. And so we've got to just be grateful for what we have. And he laughs and he's like, you're right. You're right. And I'm like, so like at the end of the day, I'm just so grateful for what the Lord has provided for us. So like, I don't want to hear you complain anymore because my prayers have been answered. And so he kind of laughs at that. And so we go back to that all the time.
No, I think that, and that's, my prayer. I feel like any believer, any Christian that I've talked to, I feel like people kind of like get set on the prayer that is the most comforting to them in the moment, And so what I always pray when Clayton is taking the mound, and usually we're like singing the national anthem or whatever it is before as he's warming up. My prayer is always when people see him on the mound, when they see this talent that so clearly came from the Lord, it was something he was born with. Mm-hmm. And yes, he has worked really hard and cultivated it really well. But my prayer is that when people see him pitch, that they would know the Lord in a deeper, more full way. And so I think that all of us kind of hold on to prayers like that just have kind of sustained us throughout their career. And so I love hearing what has been a consistent prayer for you throughout his career, and see how it kind of is so similar to the prayer that I pray for Clayton before his starts.
Well, I will be rooting you guys on for sure. And I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to go on and do something amazing, whether it be in baseball next year or down the road. And I am so grateful that you came on today, because I know we met just momentarily a couple weeks ago, and I was trying to give you my spiel about what the whole A League of Her Own is all about. But I really think you exemplify what I'm trying to get across, is that there are women out there that are married to professional athletes that are driven, that are accomplished, that are motivating, that do so much good, and that gets overlooked so often by the flashing lights and what people wear. And so I just think so many people are going to be inspired by your story. And I know me, like next time I think, is this gesture too small? I'm going to probably step up back and be like, you never know what's going to happen from one small action. And so you're going to be in the back of my mind. And I know that's going to be the case for many others. So I am so grateful you came on today. I wish you guys all the best. My kids, my boys, are huge Dodger fans. My twins, Nick's from California. And so we have Dodger jerseys, hats. And so they were so excited that you were going to be on today.
And come out to a game next year. We'd love to have
them out there. 100%.
So fun.
They were so excited that you were on here. So thank you for, I know you're super moment, crazy busy, but I am so appreciative for you to come on today. And if you ever need anything, like I said, open door policy, you just come this way. It's a great time.
Same. Right back at you. Thank you so much, Jay. I appreciate it.
Well, guys, you just met Ellen Kershaw. If you're not inspired, I don't know how you can't be. She's amazing. A mother of 4. She's a philanthropist. She's a wife. She's superwoman. And she's really motivated me going to this holiday season. So we wish you the happiest holidays. Thank you for joining us on A League of Her Own. And we will see you after the holidays. Have a great one.